President Trump knocks down New York City congestion pricing, drawing the ire of New York City politicians, but drawing praise from New Jersey Democrats, plus a proposal to ban cell phones in New Jersey schools, how it would work, and how the governor is getting behind the move. And a very good morning to you. It is 7 a.m. Welcome to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. We will take your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. But you better bundle up before you head out. Straight to meteorologist Mike Pavetta. First check of the Garden State forecast and maybe a little snow shower or two, but it is windy and cold once again.
Yeah, it's cold. It's February and more of the same, Ken. This afternoon, with like you mentioned, the potential of a few flakes and flurries. We start beautiful and bright, but that sun doesn't do anything to warm us up. It's 11 degrees right now in Sussex, coldest spot in New Jersey, 19 in Newark, Flemington not far behind at 12, and Ship Bottom down on LBI, 19 for you. With all of this cold weather, wind gusts are not as impressive as they were the last few days. A 15-mile-per-hour gust is still breezy in Newark, and it makes for a wind chill, just not as harsh as it has been in recent days. With that 8-degree wind chill in Morristown, feels like 9 in Newark and 6 in Toms River. Yeah, it'll feel cold this morning. Get you going started on this morning. And it's actually going to be about 2 or 3 degrees warmer in some spots than this morning as compared to this time yesterday. Notice the clouds, mostly southern New Jersey, even the tip of Southern Ocean County into Atlantic County and Cape May County. Those are the snow showers that are working through. And that was supposed to be our big storm that the models were predicting last week. But nope, stayed offshore and will give us a sunny start to the day. But it doesn't stay clear because the rest of the system, while all of the snow looks like it's offshore, there's still a piece in the upper atmosphere which comes through this afternoon, providing a few scattered flurries into this afternoon and evening's commute around 3 and 4 o'clock. You see those dots of blue here on the map working through northern and central New Jersey and then clearing out by about 7 o'clock tonight. Behind that, more cold weather. I know, shocker. Continuing into Friday and even going into Friday evening with temperatures staying in the teens to start off our weekend, but it does warm up a bit by the time we get to Sunday. And I think Sunday morning sees a little bit of a jump in temperatures, and that kind of springboards us into a more pleasant feel. So while Saturday starts off chilly, we actually make it to 40 in many locations and we'll be in the mid 40s by Sunday. Mostly sunny skies going forward, nice and dry, at least on the 7th day. We'll talk more about that extended forecast, Ken. That's coming up with a complete check of your weather in just a few minutes.
All right, you spoiled me, Mike. That's what you do. You spoiled me. Thank you very much, sir. It is 7:03. Chilly, though. Chilly. It's 19 degrees. And we do have a couple of traffic incidents to let you know about. We have some parking-related issues. We talked about this yesterday, but it's even worse today. If you are headed from New Jersey out to JFK to catch a flight, a lot of people would drive from New Jersey and then park there. Well, the problem is their main parking lot, which is known as the Blue Terminal, Terminal 4, that parking lot is now 100% full. So if you do intend on heading to JFK, go online first, book parking at another regional lot because you're not going to be able to park there. And that's important because otherwise you're going to be driving around in traffic trying to find parking. We have in Jersey City a water main break. It's 14th Street Service Road. Westbound between Barnum Street and Marin Boulevard in Jersey City. Another water main break, that's from this incredible cold. This happens when the cold temperatures stay for days. This is on Route 71, both directions south of Route 36 in West Long Branch. All lanes are intermittently being closed, so use caution. And of course, we still have that sinkhole on I-80 eastbound with emergency construction. That's at exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton. All lanes are closed, being detoured off, and that's going to last for weeks. 7:04 now. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy made good on President Trump's promise to end New York's congestion pricing toll, pulling federal approval yesterday. Duffy said the $9 fee to enter Manhattan below 60th Street is, quote, a slap in the face to working class Americans and business people. Duffy notified Governor Hochul of his decision, saying, quote, commuters using the highway system to enter New York City have already financed the construction and improvement of these highways through the payment of gas taxes and other taxes. But now the toll program leaves drivers without any free highway alternative and instead takes more money from working people to pay for a transit system and not for highways. It's backwards and unfair. Congestion pricing was intended to raise $1 billion in annual revenue for MTA capital programs while simultaneously reducing gridlock, air pollution, and crashes. Officials never did explain how you can both lower the number of cars coming into the congestion zone, yet somehow raise all the money that they need to cover the gross mismanagement of the MTA. New Jersey drivers won't see an immediate break, though. The MTA is suing to keep congestion pricing in place, and they get a hearing on the matter next Wednesday. Till then, it stands. 7:05 now. Yesterday, Governor Phil Murphy visited Woodbury Junior Senior High School in Gloucester County to spotlight a growing movement banning cell phones in classrooms. The governor announced a $3 million budget proposal to support school districts adopting similar policies, joined by Assembly members Rosie Bagoli and Cody Miller, who are sponsoring legislation to guide schools in creating cell phone restrictions. The visit showcased Woodbury's use of yonder pouches, locking students' phones from bell to bell, a policy that teachers and students alike say is transforming the classroom experience.
You probably know that we're very serious about cell phone usage in schools. These folks are involved with some really good legislation. Downstairs, I think when we've got a bigger press group, we're going to announce that part of our budget, which is announced next week, we're going to put several $1 million out for competitive grants for districts, as I mentioned to the superintendent, for folks if they're intrigued by this and they want to sign up, whatever it costs to get the pouches or the training, or in Rosie's case, you put them in bins in her school, whatever it might be, and trying to get more schools to sign on, basically. And as the superintendent said, this may not work for everybody. There may be different flavors that work.
To talk more about the cell phone ban is New Jersey State Assemblywoman Rosie Bagoli. Assemblywoman Bagoli, welcome to ONNJ Jersey Mornings. Thanks for getting up with us this morning.
Good morning, Ken. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, you bet. Well, you joined Governor Murphy yesterday at Woodbury Junior Senior High School to highlight the cell phone ban there. What stood out to you most from that visit? Was it the students locking their phones in those yonder pouches he was just showing, or the feedback that you got from teachers and students about having fewer distractions so they could focus more on school?
I think it was the feedback that we got from the teachers and students. I am a superintendent principal of schools myself, and we do not allow cell phone use in our schools either. As the governor said, my school puts the cell phones in bins. But to see how the students come in the morning, actually place their devices in a much bigger school district than where I work, and then have the feedback that they actually felt calmer as a result of having to do that the teachers felt that they could teach, that they were able to finally deliver a lesson without having to worry that there are cell phones being used in the classroom. One of the teachers described that the students would use apps to solve the math problems. And she felt like now the kids are actually engaging in mathematics and engaging in problem solving with one another, as opposed to getting an app, taking a picture of the problem, and having their cell phones get the answers for them. So listening to the teachers tell me how valuable the change has been to them as teachers in the classroom, but more so hearing how the students felt. They felt more emotionally and socially connected with their peers. They didn't feel that they were going to, one of them said, I'm so happy I don't have to worry about TikToks or dances happening in the hallway. Congestion, we can get to classes faster because there's no congestion of people checking their phones in the hallways between classes. The fact that they didn't have to worry about cyberbullying during school hours. The fact that they were calmer and they said they were getting better grades. All those things makes this piece of legislation so meaningful, because I can see already through the visits that we had yesterday, the impact that not having those cell phones readily available is already having to students and teachers.
You know what's funny, Assemblywoman? I would have thought that students who are so addicted to their phones, because let's just face it, you're younger than me, clearly, but I wasn't raised with a phone in my hand. You probably weren't raised with a phone in your hand.
I was not raised with a phone in my hand.
Right. But these kids have been. So I thought that being separating from their phone would have caused anxiety and there would have been a big amount of outrage. It is so refreshing to hear that the kids had a positive reaction. It actually, my heart is warm knowing that, wow, these kids are going to actually be able to learn to interact, because I'm sure you've encountered a lot of kids from the Gen Z they don't know how to look you in the eye. They're so used to having this, where they're just, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I get incensed when you're trying to talk to somebody and they just ignore you and they're just down it because they're not paying attention to you when they're typing away on their phone. So it just must have been so refreshing for you too, being an educator and then being in the assembly to see that. Now, I know that you and Assemblyman Cody Miller are sponsoring a bill that would direct the State Department of Education to actually develop guidelines so that there's more
Yes.
consistent policies in schools. So what's the goal of that? Is it to have kind of a universal policy, or would you let each district or school develop their own method?
We would want each district, local control as an admin myself is very important. Not everything
Mhm.
that maybe Woodbury is doing is going to fit my small little school district or fit a bigger high school like Patterson or Elizabeth. So we want the school districts, the intent is really for school districts to develop policies within the guidelines that are going to be handed down by the Department of Education for the use of cell phone during non-use of cell phone during instructional time. For example, Woodbury allows the students after the bell to be able to take their phones and use their phones for extracurricular activities or maybe, going on a field trip. They allowed the students to have their cell phones. I think that would give parents peace of mind if their child is on a field trip, that their child is able to contact them or connect with them. Certainly, we're not trying to say cell phones are 100% banned. It's an be all end all. But we are trying to say we need to have some procedures in place. We need some guidelines from the Department of Education in order to ensure that our students are getting the most benefit out of the time that they're sitting in the classroom with their teachers in the learning environment and also with their peers.
Would there be, say, exceptions? Say a child had a parent who was sick or was awaiting news, or a child who maybe has a medical condition and the parent needs to stay in touch. Would there be waivers granted for certain students to be able to keep their phones with them during the day?
I don't know if they would keep their cell phones with them. I'll give you a perfect example. I have a student in my school who is diabetic and monitors glucose
Mhm.
sugar through their cell phone. The cell phone is
Right.
kept in a pouch with the school nurse with a code, and the nurse is also monitoring the sound of that cell phone to ensure that the student is safe at all times. So if the student's glucose sugar goes down, the nurse is alerted immediately and is being able to help that student um, within seconds. So we have procedures in place for students who are medically fragile, for students who have, some students may have autism and this phone may be calming to them. If a student has an IEP, a 504 plan, or a medical plan, the law is not meant to interfere with the need of the student to use cell phones in a way that is appropriate for them. But
Right.
if I have to call mom to tell mom that I'm going to stay late because I have play practice, our land use of the landline, like it was available to me and you, Ken, is still available in the
Right.
main office.
Hey,
So
back in my day, it was two tin cans and a string. That's how we did it. Hello, who's
so
there?
students are always welcome. Yeah, we want them to be able to reach their parents. We don't want them to not
Right.
feel disconnected during the school day. But just like you and I did, or you, I don't know about the tin can. You don't. I don't think so. But but we're always
Well,
able to use maybe rotary dial.
right, right. Well,
No,
I did
I
have
I
rotary
had
dial.
rotary dial,
Absolutely.
so
Okay,
yeah.
all
So
right.
maybe
So the true
students will still
confessions.
be able
We
to
can't lie.
contact their parents.
Our friends are watching. We can't lie about age that way, right? Now you mentioned you're a principal, you're a superintendent of East Newark, which is so refreshing because you can bring that perspective and that experience to the legislature. And you mentioned that your district has its own cell phone ban using bins instead of pouches. So how has that experience as an educator affected the way that you came up with the legislation and the differences that you may have seen in your students? You talked about how these students react, and just other students and other teachers at other schools who may be implementing this. What differences have you found in the different ways they're implementing this?
Well, that's the point why we decided to make this law just local control. My very small school district, the pouches are maybe not needed. We have a small amount of students, and it's easier for me to just put them in bins, and at the end of the day, have the students come and pick them up and keep them safe and locked. So that's easier for me. That works for me. I saw another school district where teachers had actual little lockers in the classroom that they can lock. Um, Whatever works for a school district is what we want them to use. What has impressed me the most is the openness of individuals across the state on both sides of the aisle wanting this legislation, feeling like this legislation has been very, very needed. Um, when I came home after the state of the state, my son said to me, I have two 16-year-old sons, and they said to me, You're going to be the face of banning cell phones in New Jersey? And then I said, yes, but everybody wants it. So it's
Right.
okay. Everybody wants
Yeah,
it. So it's
that's a good
okay.
thing. Well,
Parents definitely will have,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said, parents will definitely have some concerns, but I think the ultimate benefit outweighs the concerns that we may have as parents.
Yeah, when you and I'm sorry for stepping on you. I was having actually audio issues in my ear, but now it's been solved. It's just good to see that students are more engaged and in some cases even checking out library books. Go figure. You mean that big room with books in it is getting used instead of scrolling on their phones? Stronger social bonds have been reported, a free mind. So ultimately, what's your vision on how the policy could literally reshape the whole school experience statewide? And also, if this legislation passes, will there be some funding so the schools can, say, invest in those pouches?
So the governor has committed $3 million in his state budget to competitive grants for schools to be able to try to afford, those schools that are interested. Some people say, well, $3 million, but $3 million goes a long way for schools that cannot possibly afford to implement this type of program. One of the biggest things that we deal with in education as a superintendent is that we end up with unfunded mandates. At least this mandate is
Hmm.
going to receive a little bit of funding through competitive grants. I'm happy to always see that some funding may be coming to us to implement guidelines and programs and services for students. But ultimately, I guess my vision and Cody's vision and Senator Moriori's vision in supporting this bill is that we get back to the business of learning and the business of teaching, and that students are focused every single day on what matters most, and it's their education. So the intent of this law is to ensure that students are feeling comforted, safe, that they're socially engaged, that they are pulling those library books out of the library, that they're
Right.
feeling like they can have conversations again with their teachers, looking them in the eye, being prepared for that college life where those cell phones may not be readily available in those college, in their college campus classrooms. And we hope that it reaches that level too. But right now is getting back to the business of educating our students to the fullest and having them engaged in their learning.
I wish you were my principal. You're awesome. It's just so good so refreshing that you're doing this, and it just gives me a more positive outlook to the future, knowing that students will be more engaged. Focus on education during the day. Look, there's plenty of time for the phone later, but while you're in school, focus on education. And also mentioning the cyberbullying thing, that's a big deal. And to have that be basically the day be a cyberbully free time, that's wonderful. New Jersey State Assemblywoman Rosie Bagoli. Did I get your name right, please?
Yes, you did. You did. Thank you,
All
Ken.
right. Assemblywoman Bagoli, thank you so much for joining us. Please come back and let us know how this is working out. All right.
Would love to. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
You bet. Have a
Good day
great
to you.
day. Thank you. You bet. It is 7:18 right now, a chilly 18 degrees, maybe a little snow shower later today for parts of New Jersey. Meteorologist Mike Favetta will return with your full Garden State forecast. Plus, we're taking your calls, 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings. Don't go away. Welcome back to ONNJ Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 7:19. We're taking your calls, 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. Maybe a snow shower for parts of New Jersey later today. In the meantime, it is cold and blustery. The winds are still there. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. Mike, it just wouldn't be so bad if not for those winds. It makes it feel so cold.
The winds are rough, the air is cold, but it's not as blustery as it was in days prior. The winds have calmed down just a little bit, and every mile per hour makes a difference when you're talking about air this cold. We start off this morning with temperatures in the teens statewide, and it stays chilly throughout this afternoon. Clear sky through the morning. Once we get to the afternoon, some clouds work in, not from the storm offshore. It's actually the piece of the system that's in the upper atmosphere that will likely bring through a few passing snow showers and flurries into northern and central New Jersey through this afternoon. It could put down a quick coating, but it doesn't last long. And it's a very fast-moving system. And it's gone later on this evening, providing in its place another round of cold air, and that chilly weather lingers throughout your Friday. Sunshine is back, winds are a little bit lighter, and we start off chilly again on Saturday, but this time, Saturday warms beyond the freezing mark and will take us back into above freezing territory. So there's the system offshore, zipping out to sea. What's left behind it is we'll start to see a few snow showers develop here over Pennsylvania and then migrate across northern and central New Jersey this afternoon. Current wind gusts anywhere from 3 to 14 miles per hour. So it's breezy, but not really gusty. And even these gusts go as high today as about 24 miles per hour, even into tomorrow as well as Saturday. But those winds relax through the weekend, and that also means wind chills start to warm up a bit. The current wind chill throughout this afternoon holds in the single digit territory. It's cold. -3 even later on tonight up in Sussex. But we start off tomorrow morning, 11-degree wind chill in Newark, 9-degree wind chill in Long Branch, and 8 in Ship Bottom. So it stays chilly throughout tomorrow. Then heading into Saturday with another round of cold air in place. Not quite done with the winter weather just yet, even with a few snowflakes and flurries coming through central New Jersey today. Excuse me, New Brunswick's high of 30 degrees today, 30 in Long Branch. So again, failing to make the freezing mark. Beyond that, going into this weekend, starting off on Saturday morning, we're dry, we're clear. We have a few clear batches of clear weather around. And then going into the next few afternoons, I think we'll keep another round of clear sky as well into Monday and Tuesday. So even into next week, there will be a little bit of that clear weather around, but I think overall it'll start off nice and dry throughout next week with our next chance of rain on Tuesday. And you see that moving through here. So it's going to be another round of cool, clear sky going forward. And even with that, this weekend turns a little bit milder each and every day, 39 on Saturday. And then by Sunday, make it into the 40s, Ken. That'll feel pleasant with a little bit more of a milder feel by the end of the weekend. But we could make it to 50 next week. We'll tell you about that coming up.
I'll take it. I mean, did my mother pay you to give me that warmer weather forecast? Is that what happened?
I wanted to. I'm tired of being freezing every time I go outside.
Yeah, me too. How does a baby like the cold, by the way?
The baby's been stuck inside because it's been too cold to go outside, which is a problem too. These December babies, you can't really take them out very much unless it gets to like 40. So
Right.
yeah, you can hear the scream from a mile away, and when you try to endure the cold, doesn't work
Me
out.
too. Me too. Same scream from me. All right, Mike, thank you very much. It is 7:23. We'll check back with Mike in a little bit. We do have some issues again because of the intense cold that we have had these days. The ground, when you get one cold day, underground, the temperature stays whatever it was. When you get 3, 4, 5, 10 frigid under freezing days, the ground temperature freezes. And that causes the water mains to break in many cases. So we have an issue here now, multiple water main breaks. One is on Route 71, both directions, south of Route 36 and West Long Branch. All lanes are closed on an intermittent basis, so use caution. We have a water main break, 14th Street Service Road westbound between Barnum Street and Marin Boulevard in Jersey City. All lanes temporarily closed there. If you are headed out to JFK, the main parking lot is 100% full. So make sure you get parking online at a regional parking facility that has, and make sure, by the way, I made this mistake once. Make sure those parking facilities that are satellite facilities, that they give you free transportation to the airport. Some don't. Double check before you book it. And we still have emergency construction and a sinkhole on I-80 eastbound That's exit 34, Route 15 in Wharton. All lanes are closed and everybody is being detoured. 724 now. As self-driving cars roll onto our streets, a critical question emerges. How do pedestrians safely cross the roads without the familiar signals from human drivers, say, yeah, you can go ahead or stop? At Kane University in Union, Assistant Professor Lakshmi Subramanian is tackling this challenge head on. Professor Subramanian is leading a team of undergraduate researchers using cutting-edge virtual reality to study how people navigate multi-lane roads in the presence of these new autonomous vehicles. Their work could shape the future of roadway safety, influencing car manufacturers, policymakers, and all of us who share the streets. Professor Subramanian, thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much for giving me this
So,
opportunity.
This is important because, this is the future. And a friend of mine once said, if only we had all automated cars or no automated cars, we wouldn't have a problem. It's the mix, because the computers know what they're doing, but the people are less predictable. Is that pretty much the case?
So far, research has been doing how pedestrians would respond to autonomous vehicle because there's no driver inside the car, especially in uh, road conditions where the car yields to the pedestrian. There is mid-block crossings where the pedestrians wait to get cues from the driver in a regular car. But in an autonomous car, since there's no driver, so currently researchers are looking ways where we are proposing an external display communication interface to be placed on the cars to display the signals to the pedestrians on whether it is willing to yield or no yield, because this is a safety issue for the pedestrians.
So that's fascinating. So in other words, the car would communicate outwardly to the pedestrian. So is this the CAVR simulation technology? Is that what that is? The CAVE-VR, the virtual reality system you're talking about? This is Kane's advanced simulation technology, right?
Kane has its own, it's called Cave. So it's a three-walled project with projectors. So it can project 3D virtual scenes. So we are able to test scenarios which are dangerous to study in the real world. So let's say you want to test a road crossing scenario in a mid-block roadway, and it's dangerous to do it with participants trying to do it in the real world. So we use this virtual reality, immersive virtual reality, where the pedestrians see the 3D immersive virtual environment, and they interact with the virtual environment. So in this way, we are able to simulate the traffic scenarios, such as you have a virtual car, a 3D car, and that will be like an autonomous car. So now we can try to simulate these external displays on the car and see how pedestrians respond to it. So, yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Professor. I was going to say that what happens, though, in cases of somebody who is hearing impaired or visually impaired in those circumstances? Has that been taken into account, rather?
So initially the studies really focused on the visual communication interface, but now they are trying to include accessibility, as you said, people with hearing impairments. So that's the next step the researchers are studying, if the car can give like an audio signal along with the visual signal. So in that way, we can still able to communicate with pedestrians from all type of, potential. But currently, majority of the research are focusing on visual signals.
Right.
And my research
Which is
also,
what the majority of the people, I'm sorry to step on you, this is what the majority of people clearly would be able to get the visual. And certainly if the manufacturers adopt this cave of virtual reality that you're talking about that Kane has, then it will be a thing that'll be common. So people will look to get that instruction from the vehicle automatically, right? We're thinking about it in terms of today, where people don't know that would be coming. But if that becomes common on all the vehicles, everybody would be used to getting the cue from the car, right?
Yes. So the cave technology is very useful to study this in a virtual environment. And we also have the virtual reality headset. One of the famous is the Meta Quest by Meta, which is originally it's a Facebook brand. So in that way, we recruit participants. So they wear these headsets. They they see the 3D virtual environment, they respond to it as if they're responding to the real environment. So we study how they behave, like how long they took to cross, whether they understand the signal from the coming from the autonomous car. So these are the things which are really possible to do in the immersive virtual reality technology. So yes, the manufacturers also can adopt this technology to study multiple scenarios. So in my research specifically now, I'm currently focusing on multi-lane roads. So the multi-lane, 2-lane, 3-lane, 4-lane
Hmm.
roads. So we are simulating this in a 3D virtual reality, and then we have cars coming from those multi-lane roads, and sometimes they display the signal, sometimes they don't display the signal. So how does the participant is going to respond? And they're going to actually physically walk by wearing the headset. So in that way, we know, like they're still responding to the immersive environment, as if they're responding to the real world
I love
traffic.
that. I love that, Professor. That's brilliant. And you have a number of undergrad students who are working with you, deeply involved. They're coding, as you mentioned, they're designing the virtual scenes, and they've won awards, right, for their contribution. So how has working with these students shaped the project, and what's it like to get these students when they're raw and then teach them and watch how they grow through this hands-on research?
Yes, the students are also very excited about the virtual reality technology. So I teach a course in virtual reality. So most of the
Mhm.
students who do research with me take the course with me to get the basics of virtual reality and how to program it. And they're currently enjoying it, and I'm able to provide good guidance to them because of my previous experience as a PhD student. I did the coding, so now I have the experience. So this, I think it's all comes down to interest. So students are really excited about VR in general, about VR, and they are excited to know how VR can be used to study such critical scenarios and critical applications.
Fascinating. Kane University Assistant Professor Lakshmi Subramanian, you are brilliant. I feel very humbled talking to you because I could just see that brain engaged in all these thoughts that I would have never even imagined. But thank you for doing what you do, and thank you for joining us this morning. It was great to have you on.
Thank you so much.
You bet, Professor. Thank you. 7:32, a chilly 19 degrees. The phone lines are open. We're going to take your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. And when we come back, meteorologist Mike Pavetta says we could see some snow showers today. His full Garden State forecast in a moment. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings, seen daily on ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News On, Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X, and now streamed live on Rumble and Twitch at twitch.tv/On New Jersey. We're coming right back. Very good morning. 20 degrees at 7:33. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome to On New Jersey Mornings. Windy and cold today, maybe a little snow shower in parts of New Jersey at least. Meteorologist Mike Pavetta has the Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Ken, good morning to you. I think a lot of people will be surprised when they see the snow fall this afternoon, go, I knew it was going to snow on Thursday, but in the end, it's not going to accumulate. So a few flurries that come through, and ultimately the weather apps were wrong. We didn't get our 1.5 feet of snow like they were predicting this time last week. Now, the forecast keeps that cold weather continuing throughout the next few days, the very dry weather as well. You notice this is the type of season where you walk around the house, and if you're in socks, you get shocked everything you touch, whether it be the light switch, whether it be the wall, the appliance, it's dry, and that static electricity is out there, especially with the low humidity sticking around. Now, there is milder weather that comes in on Sunday and could take our highs to near 50 in some spots, but I think we get to that 50-degree mark by next week, and that'll feel very pleasant. Snow showers this afternoon from Manahawkin south, even to Cape May. Temperatures at or below the freezing mark. So many places don't make it to freezing, save for Atlantic City, and that sun today won't really do much to warm us up. Still running about 10 to 12 degrees below average, and that sunrise at 6:43 feeling very pleasant as we enjoy these brighter, earlier mornings with the longer daylight hours. So zoom into New Jersey, you see a lot of clouds offshore. Even the last of the flurries have departed Cape May County, so didn't get much of anything with the main bulk of the storm last night. As far as the futurecast going into the weekend, we'll finish out Saturday clear, and then Sunday morning starts bright and beautiful, cold. However, we'll hold in the 20s to start, and then eventually warm into the 30s up to around 40, 45 degrees by the afternoon. So there's the system that pulls away through the rest of the day. The upper part of it moves on by and kind of joins up with the parent storm out to sea. That's why we could see our flurries this afternoon. But again, no accumulation. Nice and dry and sunny tomorrow. A little bit of a gusty breeze, but at least it stays clear. And then reinforcing clear sky comes in for Saturday and Sunday. A little weak system off to the north tries to bring by a few more clouds by Monday, but that could ultimately give us a shower chance and maybe bring on some milder weather by later on next week. So the 7-day forecast is clear sky through the weekend, highs climbing into the 40s, and then a pair of 50s taking over on Tuesday and Wednesday. That'll feel nice. We even start in the morning above freezing, even though it'll be in the 30s. Not too shabby considering that even for the short points, 7-day forecast keeps the clear sky around this weekend. Cold to start, but baby steps, day by day. We get into the 40s and then 50s by Tuesday, and I think we stay in the 50s at least through the middle of next week. That'll feel very nice, Ken, taking over into next week's weather with some sunshine, milder weather, feeling like spring, as it should. The calendar will read March by then.
I'll take March. March to March. That's my favorite. I love that. We talked about this a million times, how once you hit March, you know that you're in the home stretch, because even if you have a day of snow or a little cold,
Oh, yeah.
spring is right there. So it'll melt away. So thankfully, that's
Yeah.
good news. All right, Mike, thank you very much for that nice smile on my face. I appreciate it. For now, though, it is 20 degrees at 7:37. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy made good on President Trump's promise to end New York's congestion pricing toll, pulling federal approval yesterday. Duffy said the $9 fee to enter Manhattan below 60th Street is a slap in the face to working class Americans and business people. Duffy notified Governor Hochul of his decision, saying, quote, commuters using the highway system to enter New York City have already financed the construction and improvement of these highways through the payment of gas taxes and other taxes. But now the toll program leaves drivers without any free highway alternative, and instead takes more money from working people to pay for a transit system and not highways. It's backwards and unfair. Congestion pricing was intended to raise $1 billion in annual revenue for the MTA's capital programs while simultaneously reducing gridlock, air pollution, and crashes. Officials never did, though, explain how you could both lower the number of cars coming into the congestion zone and then at the same time raise all that money. It's one or the other. Either they stay away and then you don't raise the billion, or they come in, you have congestion, but you get the money. They never explain how you can do both at the same time. And by the way, the MTA has not released its revenues yet, but they're saying it's a big victory. So I think that's the problem. Yes, they've reduced congestion in the meantime, but they haven't gotten the revenues, and that is not the solution. So they're still going to look for a way to raise money. New Jersey drivers will not see an immediate break because for at least the next week, the MTA is suing to keep congestion pricing in place, and they'll get a hearing on the matter next Wednesday. New Jersey State Assemblyman Michael Inganamort will join us in our next half hour, and the Assemblyman will talk more about it with us. 7:38, President Trump says he's considering sending 20% of the money saved by Doge to Americans. His remarks came after Elon Musk said in a post on X Tuesday that he would check with the president on a proposal to send U.S. households tax refund checks funded by savings created by Doge's cost-cutting campaign. Musk has said that his goal is to cut federal spending by $2 trillion out of a $6.75 trillion annual budget in the latest fiscal year ended last September 30th. If that goal is met, $400 billion of that could be distributed to taxpayers. That amounts to an average of $5,000 for every household. It's a lot of money. 7:39, a federal judge yesterday questioned a top Justice Department official who is seeking to dismiss corruption charges against New York Mayor Eric Adams, a move that has led to the resignations of 8 prosecutors. U.S. District Judge Dale Ho did not yet actually make a decision at the 90-minute hearing that was held. Instead, Ho pressed Adams' lawyer about former U.S. Attorney Daniel Sassoon's suggestions that the dismissal attempt was part of a quid pro quo deal with the Trump White House. Spiro, the attorney, assured the judge that a quid pro quo never happened. 7:40, 19 degrees. The IRS will begin laying off 6,000 employees starting today. It's part of the job cuts impacting the federal government, though it comes in the thick of tax filing season. Managers across the tax agency say the cuts will likely target just the newer hires, so they should still be able to maintain all your income tax issues. 7:40, if it is happening in Trenton politics, New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein knows all about it. David joins us now with the Inside Edge.
Good morning, everybody. Today is Thursday, February 20th. Welcome to the Inside Edge. And I'm going to start with an astronomical number that I just want you to keep it in your head. It comes from a Republican gubernatorial primary poll that the New Jersey Globe reported exclusively early this morning. Among Republican primary voters, Donald Trump's favorables are at 90%. This poll was conducted by Kellyanne Conway for Kitchen Table Conservatives. That is a pro-Chitterelli super PAC. And this internal poll, I stress it's an internal poll, shows Jack Chitterelli leading Bill Spadea by 29 points. But 35% of Republican primary voters are still undecided. Now, here's a really interesting number. 65% of New Jersey Republicans say that they would be more likely to vote for a candidate for governor if they were endorsed by Donald Trump. And 75% of New Jersey Republicans want their gubernatorial nominee to be a supporter of America first and Trump-like. There's a couple takeaways here. One, no surprise, right now in February, Jack Chitterelli is the front runner for the Republican nomination for governor. But the other thing is that Donald Trump is positioned potentially to pick the Republican nominee for governor of New Jersey if he wants to, if he feels like it. This is entirely different than Trump's endorsement of Christine Serrano Glassner for U.S. Senate last year. That endorsement came late. It didn't get a lot of play, and she didn't have enough money to really push it out. So remember these numbers: 90% approval, favorable rating, 75% want a Trumpy America First governor, and 65% would be influenced positively by a Trump endorsement. And I find these numbers to be entirely credible. Donald Trump could be in the driver's seat in the Republican gubernatorial primary. And, face it, Trump has always had a thing for New Jersey. So I'm going to close with one more data point. Chris Christie remains monumentally unpopular among Republicans in his home state. He's got upside down favorables of 28-65. 65% of New Jersey Republicans view Chris Christie unfavorably. In case you're wondering, I feel really bad about that. That is all I have for today. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back tomorrow.
That's our David. I love that. Yeah, I don't know about you. I know this is probably unfair to Chris Christie, but all I envision is the beach chair, the pose, the meme of him in the beach chair when the beach was closed during the pandemic. I don't know, maybe it's just me. It is 19 chilly degrees at 7:44 when On New Jersey Mornings continues. Meteorologist Mike Pavetta returns with some snow showers headed to parts of New Jersey this afternoon. That and more when On New Jersey Mornings comes right back. Welcome back to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 7:45. We're taking your calls. The number 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. Some snow showers headed to parts of New Jersey this afternoon, right to meteorologist Mike Pavetta. It is cold and blustery, but as you said, not as windy as it has been. Good morning to you, Mike.
Yeah, good morning to you, Ken. That takes off a little bit of a chill, given that air temperatures are still going to remain in the 20s across northern New Jersey, not even cracking 30 from Jersey City toward Newark, 29 degrees for you. Even in the north section of the state, Sussex County, Newton, Hackettstown, the best chance of seeing some of those snowflakes, maybe a quick dusting on the car tops, and then it's gone. Everything melts away just after that. So a quick round of snow flurries this afternoon, but for the remainder of the week, we're dry, so the drought monitor showing that extreme drought in southern New Jersey. And even though we've picked up a healthy amount of rainfall in the central portion of the state, the northern and the southern section still below average. And with the dry stretch we're entering with no rainfall forecast for at least the next 7 days, I think we'll keep those rainfall deficits of up to an inch up in Sussex County. Again, a lot of where those reservoirs rest. With the forecast for the longer range, at least into the first week of March, putting slightly cooler than average weather upon the northeast. There's a big warm up in the southwest, but we have higher than average chances of rainfall, just slightly higher, going into the first week of March. So we'll keep that in mind, given that we could use some more rain to at least bust the persistent drought that's been ongoing since late summer. 7-day forecast is plenty of sunshine this weekend, dry and cool, not necessarily cold. By Sunday, it's still chilly, but 44 will feel pleasant. A few extra clouds by Monday, maybe a sprinkle on Tuesday as the system slides on through. But for now, we'll just keep it cloudy. 50 as the high, and that 50-degree weather will keep us mild, at least for the rest of next week. So milder days ahead, Ken. Just few more chilly mornings, and then we'll eventually make it to next week where it'll be 50.
Next week when it's 50, if you mention chilly mornings, all I want to envision is a pot of chili. That's it. I don't want to think of cold anymore, but thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you, Mike. All right, together. We got to do it. We got to do it. All right, Mike, have a good one. We'll check back with you in a little bit and some traffic to let you know about. Again, we talked about the cold conditions that we've had causing the underground temperatures to go below freezing, and that's caused some water main breaks. So we do have those issues. Right now, water main break on Route 71, both directions south of Route 36 and West Long Branch. All lanes are closed intermittently. Also, a water main break on 14th Street Service Road westbound between Barnum Street and Marin Boulevard in Jersey City. All lanes closed temporarily. Delays at the Lincoln Tunnel, Center Tunnel, eastbound New Jersey side and Weehawken. All lanes are open, but the travel time is about 15 to 20 minutes from the Turnpike exit 16E until you get through to New York. And we have delays on the Pulaski Skyway northbound between South Kearny in South Kearny and Jersey Avenue in Jersey City. Right now, about a 15-minute travel time. Heavy traffic on Route 4 eastbound from River Road to west of Teaneck Road in Teaneck Township. Current travel times about 5 minutes. And then, of course, we still have problems on, if you're headed out to JFK Airport, the main parking lot is 100% full. That's the blue parking. So make sure you have parking arranged in advance. Finally, we have that emergency construction of the sinkhole on I-80 eastbound at exit 34, New Jersey, Route 15 in Wharton, New Jersey. All lanes are still closed or being detoured off. That's going to be in the situation there for the next few weeks. So just beware and make alternate plans. Again, it's 19 degrees, 7:49, and Microsoft announced Majorana won its first quantum computing chip. The announcement and the achievement comes after the company spent 2 decades of research in the field, but Microsoft claims that building Majorana is or required that it create an entirely new state of matter. Yeah, you heard right, a state of matter, like the air and everything around us, which is referred to as a topological state. Understanding topological matter, this is already above my head, and getting it to work in building a quantum computing chip required that Microsoft spray individual atoms, atom by atom, to get the materials to line up perfectly. So we can't even imagine what an atom looks like. Of course, you could see it under an electron microscope, and they had to line them up and spray them individually. Spray them with what? The new chip will help Microsoft build the next generation of computers. I mean, what is the spray that you would put on an atom? How small is the spray particle if it's small enough to go spray on an atom? Only these people with their brilliant minds can figure that out. 750, for years we heard people insist that the COVID shot had serious side effects, and many resisted getting the shot, even to the point of losing their jobs over it. People got canceled. They got kicked off of Facebook and Twitter because they talked about not wanting to get the jab. They were called all sorts of names, and they were condescended to by the left wing for the most part. Well, get this, left wing. Now a study from your favorite left wing university, Yale, suggests that COVID shot resistors may have been right all along. Listen carefully. Experts from none other than Yale University have now discovered an alarming syndrome about 4 years late, linked to the mRNA COVID vaccines, dubbed post-vaccination syndrome. So this syndrome appears to cause brain fog, dizziness, ringing in the ears called tinnitus or tinnitus, and exercise intolerance. So you start to work out, and in a few seconds, you start to feel winded and exhausted when you didn't several years ago. Some sufferers also show differerences in their immune cells and the presence of coronavirus proteins in their blood years after they got the shot. Even more alarming, the condition appears to reawaken a dormant virus in the body called Epstein-Barr. You've heard of Epstein-Barr syndrome. This can cause flu-like symptoms, swollen lymph nodes, and nerve tissues, or nerve issues, I should say. The study is still ongoing, and researchers are now trying to figure out how widespread this is and who is most at risk. But the researchers, again, at Yale University are definitely finding a link between the mRNA vaccines, not a specific one, all of the mRNA vaccines, and these syndromes. Please stay tuned as we get more information. We'll bring it to you. But when we were talking about this for years, people were told to shut up, you're an idiot, you're ignoring reality. No, maybe they had something to it. 752, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered senior leaders throughout the U.S. military to develop plans to cut 8% from the defense budget in each of the next 5 years. Hegseth ordered the proposed cuts to be drawn up by February 24th, which includes a list of 17 categories that the Trump administration wants exempted. Among those exemptions would be operations at the southern border, modernization of nuclear weapons and missile defense, and the purchase of one-way attack drones and other munitions. The Pentagon budget for 2025, $850 billion. So there's lots to be trimmed from that. 753, the S&P 500 climbed to a fresh record yesterday as stocks remain hot despite President Trump's threat of more tariffs. The S&P 500 rose 0.25%, earning its second record close in a row. NASDAQ Composite closed up at 20,056, while the Dow advanced 71 points to end at 44,627. Well, the Pope's in pretty bad shape. Some have suggested his funeral is actually being rehearsed, although this morning the Vatican is saying he's feeling a little better. The 88-year-old pontiff is suffering from double pneumonia and asthmatic bronchitis. This is especially bad for this pope, as he has had part of his lung removed many years ago. The Pope previously revealed that he had, quote, already prepared his tomb, but the location of that grave and coffin itself would break with tradition. Pope Francis was rushed to Rome's Gemelli Hospital last Friday, suffering from chest pain. 753, the top U.S. prosecutor in Washington has launched an investigation into threats against federal workers and said the department would probe Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer after people working in Elon Musk's Doge unit said that they had been threatened. Doge has triggered a wave of layoffs across the federal government. The prosecutor said Schumer spoke out against Supreme Court Justices Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh at a 2020 abortion rights rally. It was widely distributed on media. And in that rally, the senator got onto a microphone and a megaphone and screamed out, "You have released the whirlwind and you will pay the price." He never quite explained what he meant by "you will pay the price." Some scary moments for Mississippi's Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann. Yesterday, Hosemann collapsed while presiding over the state's Senate chamber. Take a look at
These
this
are
video. He was later reported to be
multi-year
doing
payouts.
okay, but no details were provided. So watch what happens as he's speaking to the legislature. This is in Mississippi. It's not yet known exactly why he collapsed, but he is resting right now, and they haven't given us more details. But again, that is the lieutenant governor of the state of Mississippi. This happening just yesterday. 7:55 from the "You Can't Make This Stuff Up" file. The very left-leaning magazine Newsweek had the following as an actual headline, quote, "There are concerns that the Ukrainian president could be voted out of office if the country holds an election." So this whole election democracy thingy, I guess Newsweek doesn't subscribe to it. Like maybe the people of the country get to make their own decisions and choose their own future. Go figure. Republicans are now outnumbering Democrats. The statistic is raising a lot of red flags on the left, underscoring the inroads the GOP made across the country in 2024. The latest shifts following eroding Democratic registration, enormous erosion in states like Pennsylvania, Arizona, and even right here in New Jersey. In the state of New Jersey, for instance, Republicans have gained about 14,000 registrations. Democrats have lost about 2,000 at the same time. So it's a significant pattern that's been happening, and this has been happening in state after state, including states that are traditionally very blue. And this underscores the work ahead for Democrats as they look to rebuild and retake power in Washington, especially with the midterm elections coming up. A recent poll shows that this is a generic congressional poll, shows that right now, if there were a congressional election, that Republicans are leading Democrats by 8 points. That includes all states, blue and red, that people trust Republicans and would vote for Republicans in Congress, 8 percentage points more than would be the same case among Democrats. It is now 7:57. At least 2 people have died after two small planes crashed in the air over Arizona. This happened yesterday morning. The 2 planes were both small single-engine, single-wing, fixed-wing aircraft. They weren't helicopters. They were actual small planes. Each plane was carrying 2 passengers. The 2 who died were on the same aircraft. So that means that the 2 on the second plane, both people on that second plane, managed to get to the ground and survive. The plane was a mess, of course, at that point. It's not yet known what caused that midair collision, but nonetheless, that's being investigated. And the IRS will begin laying off 6,000 employees starting today as part of the job cuts impacting the federal government. Though it comes in the thick of tax filing season, managers across the tax agencies say the cuts will likely just target newer hires, but it's not yet known if that will mean when you call in for help in putting together your tax return, if you're going to be able to get through like you would have in the past. Again, 6,000 people at the IRS being laid off as of today. It is 20 degrees at 7:58, and when we return, meteorologist Mike Favetta says we could get some snow showers headed to parts of New Jersey. He'll have the Garden State forecast. And of course, we're taking your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings, streamed on ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News On, Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X. And now we're also live on Rumble and Twitch. Just go to twitch.tv/OnNewJersey. That's /ONNEWJERSEY. You have to spell New Jersey out. It is 7:58, and we're coming right back. Good morning. It's 8 a.m. Welcome to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. We will take your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. In the meantime, we could have some snow showers headed our way. We head to meteorologist Mike Favetta with a check of the Garden State forecast. Still blustery and chilly this morning, but that wind is dying down a little bit, Mike.
It is, and temperatures are warming slowly because, Ken, the nice part about a 6:46 sunrise is that we see a warmer trend earlier in the day. So we've warmed up 2 degrees since we first told you about these early morning temperatures at 7 a.m. 19 right now in Hackensack, 21 in Newark. Granted, 2 degrees isn't going to make it feel that much warmer when the air is this cold, but at least, like Ken mentioned, the wind is relaxing, not as harsh or as gusty as the last few mornings. So 8 a.m., wind gusts of 13 miles per hour in Long Branch from the north, pushing in more dry air, and that makes it feel like 13 in Long Branch. Makes it feel like 11 in Newark and Morristown, like 9 in Hackensack and Flemington. So plenty of cold air lasts today, even though we are running about 4 degrees warmer in Newark than this time yesterday. Most of the clouds are right now south and east, and that was the case last night with the system pulling offshore. And snow never made it to New Jersey, staying completely offshore. Just a few clouds around this morning for the southern sections of New Jersey, and those have since departed. So sunshine around all morning, but by the time this afternoon arrives, that's where some clouds return from the north and west, and even bringing with it a few passing snow showers and flurries. Might see a quick burst of flurries, maybe get a quick coating on the car tops, but it doesn't last long, especially with the air this dry and the wind pushing in from the north and west, helping to move that system out quickly. So from in that 2-hour window, say between 2 and 4 p.m., could see a few bursts of flurries. Beyond that, it's dry and clear overnight. Temperatures start off chilly tomorrow morning and stay chilly into tomorrow evening. So your Friday night plans, yet again, quite cold. Air temperatures down in the teens, and that cold weather sticks around through Saturday morning. Saturday afternoon sees a bit of a warm up. Hey, we'll be above freezing for the first time in several days, and we might reach 40 by the time Sunday rolls around. At least in many locations, could maybe be in the mid 40s by the afternoon. We've got milder weather on the way for next week that pushes us into the 50s. Can't wait to tell you all about that. It's coming up, Ken, on the 7-day forecast in just a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm already in my 50s. I'm just letting you know. All right, you can get there. You'll get there. All right. Thank you so much, Mike. It is now 20 degrees at 8:02. So we had mentioned, it's funny because Mike had mentioned before that the temperature had come up a couple of degrees, and that happens at sunrise. The temperature drops usually a degree or two and then comes right back up. So at the beginning of the show, it was 20, dropped to like 18, and now it's back up to 20. 8:03 is our time. Let's check the traffic really fast. We've been talking about that sinkhole on I-80 eastbound. It's still in existence. It's going to be there for the next few weeks. That's in Wharton, exit 34. So all lanes are closed. You're being detoured off. Beware of that. We have a water main break, Route 71, both directions, south of Route 36 and West Long Branch. All lanes are closed intermittently, so use caution there. Crash on Route 1 southbound by 287 in Edison Township. The left lane is closed. And we also have problems at the parking lot, the main blue parking lot, as it's called. At JFK Airport. It is now 100% occupied. So if you're headed to JFK for a flight, you don't want to go there and find out you can't park. So make sure you make reservations at one of the other satellite parking facilities. There are others available. Just make sure you make that reservation. Delays on the Jersey Turnpike Western Spur northbound from Southern Mixing Bowl to south of 15 WI-280 in Newark. All lanes are open, but there is a 2-mile delay due to volume and heavy traffic on Route 4 eastbound west of Kinderkamak Road in River Edge to Teaneck Road in Teaneck Township. Current travel times about 10 minutes there, so beware of that. 8:04 is our time. A major shakeup in New York City that impacts Garden State residents as the Trump administration moves to dismantle the city's congestion pricing system. A program launched just last month to ease traffic and fund mass transit by charging drivers a huge toll to enter Manhattan south of 6th Street. Of course, the money is not really to help the streets so much, although they say it will reduce congestion, reduce the congestion, but it really is to fund their subway system that is a mess right now. The decision announced by Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy to end congestion pricing from the feds has sparked fierce backlash, with New York State Governor Kathy Hochul and the MTA vowing to fight it in court. They have a court date next Wednesday. Supporters say the toll is delivering results with less congestion and fewer accidents. And I will say, firsthand basis, that yes, there is less congestion. I've driven in a bunch of times. But critics, including some across the Hudson here, cheer its demise. And here to weigh in is Assemblyman Michael Inganamort. Thank you for joining us, Assemblyman. It's good to have you on this morning.
Morning, Ken.
Well, the Trump administration called congestion pricing a slap in the face to working class Americans. As a New Jersey lawmaker, what's your reaction to the move, and how do you think it's going to impact New Jersey commuters?
Well, listen, Ken, this was such a ridiculous program, and I'm glad it only took a month to be fully repealed. The president today, President-elect Donald Trump, back in December, he called the congestion tax a disaster. He promised to repeal it right away, and that's exactly what he did. And I'm particularly grateful not only to the new president, but to the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, a New Jersey resident, by the way, who called this program what it is. It's a money grab. Ken, this program is a money grab to bail out the structurally failing MTA, and doing so on the backs of New Jersey drivers and taxpayers. It's not right, and the program is exactly where it should be, in the dustbin.
You know, Assemblyman, I have a friend, multiple friends, whose families have worked for the MTA, motormen, and et cetera, on the trains. And this is what I've been told over the years. Yeah, my dad started working for the MTA when he was 19 years old. He retired at 39. He gets bennies for the rest of his life. The whole family gets health care. Wow. Now, when you hear that, you think, oh, that's great. Then you realize what the ramifications are. That money has to come from somewhere. And back in the day when we died at 50, 100 years ago, it was one thing. People lived to be 100. So if you retire at 39 and the MTA is financing you and your entire family with your health care and your benefits till you're 100, now you find out why they are billions and billions in debt. Yes, we want to take care of people in their retirement, et cetera, but that is one heck of a plan that they have at the MTA, and that is probably one of the reasons, coupled with the fact that they allowed people to jump the turnstiles and walk on the buses without paying for 5 years and did nothing about it. Now they want New Jersey motorists to foot the bill. So the fact that they would do this is amazing.
You are so on the point, Ken. And the generous benefits from the MTA, that's something we know about in New Jersey, don't we? Where we have a totally unsustainable pension system here in the state of New Jersey. It's been that way, chronically failing for decades now. My gosh, we won't even get into the federal obligations that are blowing a hole in our federal budget. But if we just drill down back into the MTA, Ken, yes, it is the exorbitant spending on individual salaries and benefits. But you mentioned fare skippers. I mean, in 2023 alone, almost half of bus riders skipped their fares. That adds up to close to $700 million. That's what the MTA lost in fare skippers in 2023 alone. Add on top of that about $1 billion that the MTA spent to over-design, over-engineer a way too large, in my opinion, Second Avenue subway over in East Harlem. This starts to add up, and it's no wonder that the MTA just had a massive hole in its budget. The MTA was an unsustainable organization as it is. We know something about unsustainable spending obligations in New Jersey. We have our own to grapple with, and I think it's doubly unfair and just not right to put New Jerseyans on the hook for New York's fiscal mismanagement. So that's why I regret it required federal intervention, but it did. I'm glad it came through. And this is not right. New York should not gouge New Jerseyans for their fiscal mismanagement.
And, you know, Assemblyman, I just want to clarify something, because we had you fonted on the bottom there as a Democrat. I think that's wrong, right? You are a Republican.
I sure am. I am a strong New Jersey Republican, and that's why I'm talking about these things about fiscal mismanagement. I mean, that's a big part of the argument that the Republican caucus in Trenton is making. The state of New Jersey is on a fiscally irresponsible path. We've blown a hole in our own state budget, and so then to put New Jerseyans on the hook for the hole in the New York MTA budget is just adding insult to injury. So, yeah, let's get that correct. I see it as now I'm part of the party in New Jersey that's fighting for fiscal sanity and fiscal responsibility.
Yeah, I'm with you. And by the way, and I'm sure I've been a huge opponent to this whole congestion pricing issue. I've been screaming out about it since the summertime. I'm on here and on WOR radio in New York, where I also work, and it's amazing that the only people who seem for it are the liberal Manhattanites because they're very selfish. I don't want to see the cars in my neighborhood. Get rid of the cars. Meanwhile, the people up in the Bronx have to deal with double the traffic because everybody's driving into the Bronx, parking in the Bronx, and then taking the subway down. People in New Jersey have traffic, and people on Long Island have traffic, so that the elitists in Manhattan can live in their $12 million little penthouse and not have to look down at the cars. Meanwhile, they want their food. I'm sorry about the accent. They want their food delivered. They want their trucks to come in and drop off everything they need. And then they want people like us to commute in and pay money for Broadway, pay money for parking, pay money for everything else, keep their delis in business. And then they just hose us and they want us to pay another $9. It is ridiculous. And just the idea that anybody would defend that when these are streets we've paid for already. These are streets, they get millions and millions of federal dollars to maintain those roads every year already. So how much more do you need? Where does it end? We get tolled, gas taxed, and then the federal money toward the highways, et cetera. Stop it already. Democrats seem to have never, I'm sorry to rant, they've never found a tax or a toll they didn't like.
You're absolutely right. Everything is increasing across the board. They need a higher gas tax, which we opposed in Trenton. They want higher taxes across the board, which we opposed in Trenton. And that's just on the New Jersey side. I keep coming back to this. We have our own fiscal challenges in New Jersey that New Jerseyans regrettably are on the hook for because, in my opinion, we have elected leaders who have mismanaged our state budget. It is adding insult to injury to put us on the hook for New York's fiscal mismanagement. Mm-hmm. Look, if the goal here of the congestion tax is to have people get onto public transit, that is a good and worthy goal. And you could do it one of two ways, with the carrots or with the sticks. Governor Hochul and the Democrats in New York chose the sticks by gouging drivers, most of whom are New Jerseyans, with a higher fee for entering, lower Manhattan below 60th Street. What they should have done, in my opinion, was focused on the carrots. How about we improve safety on the subway in New York City, make that an appealing option for folks? I tell you right now, I'm not giving advice, but speaking for myself, I'm not riding the New York City subway, where people have been murdered in 2024 and 2023. Numerous people attacked, assaulted,
you want to stand on the subway and watch people defecate and vomit and be naked this is what's happening on the subways at all hours. Right. Nobody wants that. And for the fee of $3.
That's right.
It's disgusting. I'm sorry to step on you. I'm with you. And again, two of the arguments I love from the left is that this will simultaneously reduce congestion and raise $1 billion. Well, they don't explain how that happens, because if people don't drive in, thus reducing congestion, then you're not going to get the $1 billion. That's like the old cigarette tax concept. Well, people will stop smoking and will raise all this tax money. You can only do one or the other. They're mutually exclusive, right? So,
that's exactly
I don't know why. Am I the only person in the media who gets that? So you notice when the MTA released its study a couple of weeks ago, they never said what their revenues were. It's because their revenues, from somebody I know on the inside, are far short of what they anticipated. Has it reduced congestion? For the interim, yes, it has. Because for now, people are looking for an alternate, but people are still not necessarily taking the subway. Subway use is not up by what they thought. So what people are doing is ride sharing. They're getting dropped off in the outer boroughs and taking subways to a point, or buses. That's what they're doing to avoid it. Nobody wants to take the subway early hours. They're afraid, etc. And this whole thing is nothing more than a money grab. Democrats don't get it. It's not an income problem. It's an expense problem. Cut your expenditures and you will have the money. Don't spend $12 billion on illegal migrants. And guess what? You'll have $12 billion for the MTA. Pretty easy math, right?
It's so true. I mean, listen, we keep saying it. The MTA is totally broken, and what the MTA should do. Again, I'm not in New York government, but if I was, I'd be calling for a full, complete, independent forensic audit of the MTA. Where are the dollars going? The MTA is bringing in millions upon millions in revenues, as you've just said. Where's it going? Is it going to improve safety? Is it going to improve service? Is it going to improve reliability? Not to my naked eye. And so I think the MTA is long overdue for a forensic audit. Now, listen, that's up to New York to decide if they're going to do that or not. On the other side of the Hudson, here in New Jersey, I've called for the same thing. We need a full audit of New Jersey Transit. I'm the prime sponsor of legislation to do precisely that. Let's audit our government agencies. We're doing a lot of that in Washington, D.C., aren't we now? Finding a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. And there is no doubt in my mind that if we did the same thing, put the same magnifying glass, use the same sunlight as a disinfectant, as they call it, on our state agencies, whether that's NJ Transit in New Jersey, the MTA in New York City, I think you'd find a tremendous amount of waste, Ken.
I know there's been conversation about having a New Jersey Doge, but I know the other problem is being a Republican. It's like being the sole voice in the wind, shouting out among this pool of Democrats in Trenton. That which must be extremely frustrating. I hope you keep a bottle of Pepto Bismol next to your desk. But
Yeah.
do you think Doge will ever have a chance of passing in New Jersey, and thus keep an eye on this mess of spending?
There is legislation to create a Department of Government Efficiency in New Jersey. I support it wholeheartedly. I'm a co-sponsor of all the relevant legislation to do that. But listen, let's talk real politique here for a second. So long as Phil Murphy is governor, which he is for another 10 months, and so long as the Democrats have a frankly strong majority down there in Trenton, they're almost 2-1 in the state assembly. Regrettably, no, I don't think that caucus nor this governor is interested in achieving the type of government efficiency that is starting to come out of Washington, D.C. So listen, it's an election year in New Jersey. We will have a new governor no matter what. I hope it's one who understands the need for greater transparency, sunlight on our state agencies, greater government transparency. And what's the net result of all of that, Ken? It's intended to be reduced spending and thus reduced taxes, reducing the obligation on New Jerseyans to pay for this profligate spending in our state agencies and beyond.
Assemblyman, I'm with you 100%. Let's keep our fingers crossed. And by the way, I understand that Governor Murphy, who is term limited this time, a lot of people don't realize the term limit law in New Jersey says that a governor can be in for 2 terms in a row, then must sit out, but he could technically run again 4 years after sitting out. A lot of people don't realize that. But this just in, we understand that Governor Murphy's hair is going to register to run. Just I had to do that. I'm sorry. Somebody get the guy a hairstylist. It's just
we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But we're focused on this year in 2025. We need a new governor, a new legislature, a new majority in the legislature to achieve the types of things we just described: greater efficiency, reduced spending, and reduced burden on our overburdened New Jersey taxpayers.
100%. And for the record, when London, which they love to cite in New York, when London went to congestion pricing 20 years ago, they did so after 7 years of rebuilding their mass transit system, their tube system. The other thing they did was they created zones for their tube system so that you didn't pay a flat $3 rate. If you went from, short distances, you paid £3. And if you went long distances, you paid more. Guess what? It then brought money into their coffers. It works. They refuse to explore that option in New York. So again, all of the issues they have in New York, they make the mistakes and then they put the burden on us. I mentioned briefly before, $12 billion that they are in debt in the state. They're asking the federal government for bailouts because of the situation with illegal migrants. Well, if you weren't a sanctuary state and a sanctuary city in New York, you wouldn't be 12 billion in the hole, and you would have 12 billion that you could put into the transit system instead of coming to New Jersey drivers who, we have no option. We have few options. And then saying you pay for it. And finally, years ago, there was talk of bringing the 7 train across into New Jersey. Well, at least that would have been an option, connecting a subway. You could be on the New York City subway system coming from New Jersey. maybe they invest money in actually fixing up the subways instead of letting people jump the turnstiles and walk on the buses without paying, and we'd see a difference. Again, thank you for you're being my psychologist and letting me rant to you. I appreciate it.
Well, listen, you're making an excellent point. And I am opposed to congestion pricing by philosophy. I think it is a flawed approach. I prefer the carrots to the sticks. But you use that London example, and I think it's a good one. If you are hell bent on pursuing congestion pricing, then you need to do the work in advance to make your public transit system safe, clean, and reliable. Do that first before you force people through a higher fee or a tax into that public transit system. We do things backwards, where we force people into a broken transit system. It's the same thing on the west side of the Hudson River with the governor's energy master plan. The governor comes up with these arbitrary deadlines where we're mandating the purchase of EVs. Listen, I'm opposed to that by principle. I think you should be free to choose the type of car you want to purchase, whether that's an EV or not. Good luck and God bless. But if you're going to mandate that on folks, which again I oppose, you need to do the work in advance to create that infrastructure, that demand for electric vehicles, the places to charge them, etc. We do things backwards, where we force these things on residents, and the system in which they're forced into is already broken. It makes no sense. We got to rethink how we approach these solutions.
You mean like Mayor Pete being the former head of the DOT and having $20 billion to build an infrastructure of charging stations, and he built 4 in the entire country in 4 years? You mean that kind of inefficiency? What a waste of cash. And yet they still hold him up as an example of maybe the future of the Democrat Party. If that's your future, Democrats, you're screwed, in plain English. Good. More food for us, right? All right, so let's make it clear. Assemblyman Michael Inganamort is a Republican. Thank you for joining us this morning. It was great having you on. Please don't be a stranger. We want you back.
I look forward to it. Thanks so much, Ken. Have a great morning.
You too. Thank you, sir. It is 8:21 when ONNJ Mornings continues. Meteorologist Mike Favetta says we could have a snow shower too in parts of Jersey. And we're going to take your calls at 888-658-0234 when ONNJ Mornings continues in just 2 minutes. Welcome to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. A balmy 21 degrees at 8:22. Now to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. And you know what? I'm kidding about the balmy, but it is a few degrees warmer than it was yesterday this time.
4 degrees warmer. How about that? It's something. Yeah, it's something that I thought about walking the dog this morning. Like, okay, no earthquakes, no volcanoes, no, whatever natural disasters that you find in other parts of the country. No alligators coming up. So yeah, you gotta look at the bright side. Just try and think. There's a reason why we live here, and yet we put up with the cold. Okay. We've got a really chilly start to the day, Ken. Good morning to you, with temperatures that feel a lot colder than the 14 or 19 degrees right now, thanks to that wind chill. A few flurries arrived this afternoon, specifically in the northern and central parts of New Jersey, as a system in the upper atmosphere swings on through and joins up with that storm offshore. Remember that storm that the weather app said would come and dump 1.5 feet of snow today across New Jersey? Glad that didn't happen. Just a few flakes that'll wrap up this evening, bringing back another round of clear and cold air tonight. So with the clear sky starting off tomorrow morning, we're back down in the teens for your Friday. Then it stays nice and dry through the afternoon. Lots of sunshine tomorrow, though. It doesn't do much to warm us up. We're still at or below the freezing mark until Saturday afternoon, when highs climb into the mid and upper 30s. That'll feel nice by the end of the day. Sunday, I think we beat that. Might get up into the mid 40s. Throughout the afternoon, you can start to see it here. These are the flurries that are working through central Pennsylvania that'll kind of pivot through and work their way through northern New Jersey later on this afternoon. And then the system kind of races out to sea and joins up with that storm offshore. So it looks better for tomorrow, certainly, with the sunshine. Gusty winds now anywhere from 3 to 16 miles per hour. So not terribly gusty, but it adds to that wind chill. And the wind gusts this afternoon will hold in the order of, say, 10 to 20 miles per hour. So yes, breezy, noticeable even tomorrow morning. Gusts upwards of 23 miles per hour on Long Branch, 29 on LBI. That'll make it feel, again, another round of cold going into tomorrow. But we finally cut the cold and break up with it, at least for the weekend, with a drier, milder feel. Until then, we're stuck with wind chills that'll feel like 2 in Morristown later on tonight, -3 in Sussex, and 8 in Newark. How about South Jersey, Atlantic City, and Millville sharing the low teens? And then tomorrow morning, cold again, single-digit wind chills statewide. Newark manages to make it to 11 degrees. By tomorrow afternoon, it's cold again, so any Friday evening plans, you'll be stuck with a 9-degree wind chill in Newark, 0 on the green in Morristown, and 5 is how it will feel in Sussex. So we finally see that pattern break again Saturday afternoon. That's when I think our turning point is, bringing back some milder weather. Flurries in the forecast for New Brunswick, 30 degrees for you, cloudy and flurries with 30 degrees in Long Branch, and then Point Pleasant, 31. Nobody makes it to that freezing mark today, so it stays cold this afternoon, as is the case tomorrow. Now, for Saturday and Sunday, there will be some extra clouds, I think, returning for Sunday afternoon's picture, but at least we're dry. We're milder. Highs will be back in the upper 40s, even approaching 50 in many locations. And another system stays offshore for Monday. That could pull in maybe a little bit of moisture by Tuesday, but I think ultimately it's dry. And again, this is some light, spotty chances of rain by the time we get to Tuesday afternoon. However, until then, we enjoy the clearing. And with temperatures warming each and every day with less wind, the milder day on Sunday, that'll feel very nice. Granted, a few more clouds than some would like, but to be above freezing, wow, what a dream, especially after all of this harsh cold and all of that wind that we've had earlier this week. Ken, looking milder. We'll talk more about it on the 7-day coming up.
Gosh, the bar is low just to get above freezing.
Yeah,
That's all we want.
right.
But nothing too much. That's like Alaska's big hope, just to get above freezing for 2 days.
Yeah,
All
right.
right, Mike, thank you very much, sir. It is 8:26 right now. A couple of traffic issues to tell you about before we move on to our stories. On 295 southbound north of exit 28, Route 168, the Black Horse Pike in Belmar, one left lane and shoulder are closed, so use caution there. Garden State Parkway, we have a crash southbound just south of exit 83. That's Route 9 north in Toms River Township, one right lane blocked. We have a crash on US 1 southbound south of 287 in Edison Township. A left lane is closed. We still have that emergency construction and that sinkhole repair on I-80 eastbound at exit 34 in Wharton. All lanes are closed and being detoured. And finally, we do have delays now, or problems, I should say, at JFK Airport. Again, their main parking lot, the blue parking lot, is 100% full, so make sure you make alternate plans to park elsewhere. 8:27. President Trump says that he is considering sending 20% of the money saved by Doge back to Americans. His remarks came after Elon Musk said in a post on X Tuesday that he would check with the president on a proposal to send U.S. households tax refund checks funded by savings created by Doge's cost-cutting campaign. Musk has said that his goal is to cut federal spending $2 trillion out of $6.75 trillion in the annual budget. If that goal is met, $400 billion of that could be distributed to taxpayers, amounting to an average of $5,000 a household. A federal judge yesterday questioned a top Justice Department official who's seeking to dismiss corruption charges against Mayor Eric Adams, a move that has led to the resignations of 8 prosecutors. U.S. District Judge Dale Ho did not make a decision at the 90-minute hearing after he instructed both parties to be prepared to discuss why the case should or should not be dismissed. During the hearing, Ho pressed Adams' lawyer, Spiro, the man's name is, about the then interim U.S. Attorney Danielle Sassoon's suggestion that the dismissal attempt was part of a quid pro quo deal with the Trump White House. Spiro assured the judge there was no quid pro quo. 828, Republicans now outnumber Democrats. That stat is raising red flags for the left, underscoring the inroads the GOP made across the country in 2024. The latest shifts following eroding Democratic registration in states like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Arizona underscore the work that lies ahead for Democrats as they look to rebuild and retake power in Washington. At least 2 people have died after 2 small planes crashed in the air over Arizona yesterday morning. The 2 planes were both smaller single-engine aircraft. Each plane was carrying 2 passengers. The 2 who died were on one plane. The 2 who survived were on the other. Not yet known what caused the collision. And for years, we heard people insist the COVID shot had serious side effects, and many resisted getting the shot, even to the point of losing their jobs over it. Well, now Yale University has a study saying that COVID shot resistors may have been right after all. Experts from Yale University have discovered an alarming syndrome linked to the mRNA COVID vaccines dubbed post-vaccination syndrome. It appears to cause brain fog, dizziness, ringing in the ears, and exercise intolerance. Some sufferers also show differences in their immune cells and the presence of coronavirus proteins in their blood years after they got the shot. Even more alarming, the condition appears to reawaken a dormant virus in the body called Epstein-Barr, which can cause flu-like symptoms and swollen lymph nodes and nerve issues. The study is still ongoing. Researchers are now trying to figure out how widespread this is and who's most at risk. And Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered senior leaders throughout the U.S. military to develop plans to cut 8% from the defense budget in each of the next 5 years. Hegseth ordered the proposed cuts to be drawn up by February 24th, including a list of 17 categories that the Trump administration does not want included. Among them, operations at the southern border, modernization of nuclear weapons and missile defense, and the purchase of one-way attack drones and other munitions. The Pentagon budget for 2025 is $850 billion. It is 19 degrees at 8:29, and when On New Jersey Mornings returns, we'll take your calls at 888-658-0234, plus meteorologist Mike Pavetta returns with the full Garden State forecast. Some snow showers could be on tap. On New Jersey Mornings is back in 1. Good morning. Congestion pricing may quickly become a bad memory, plus some snow showers could be headed to parts of New Jersey. It is 21 degrees at 8:31. Welcome to On New Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato, straight to meteorologist Mike Pavetta with the Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Ken, good morning to you. We've got milder days ahead, but still have to make it through at least the next 2 mornings with some frigid weather. Even Saturday starts chilly, but that's when we finally bring back some above freezing temperatures. So the cold weather continues with very dry air. You've noticed your lips are chapped, the back of your hands dry. Yeah, that's going to stick around at least through Sunday, but there mild weather that returns, brings back a touch more humidity, and even some warmer weather next week will feel quite pleasant. This afternoon, as some flurries make their way through central and southern New Jersey, just plan on a mix of clouds and sun until then, with highs climbing only to 32 in Atlantic City. That's the warmest location. Most other neighborhoods do not make it to the freezing mark, so it stays cold through this afternoon, allowing for that light flake or flurry to fall. Little to no, if any, accumulation, maybe just a dusting on the car tops. Our average high is 44 degrees, but the sunset is nice and late at 5:38 this evening. We keep the clear sky around this morning, but throughout the afternoon, as some clouds work their way back in with those flurries, plan on the skies to look a little gray once we get to the midday, and then those flurries begin falling in the 2-hour window between 2 to 4 p.m. this afternoon. Later on this weekend, as highs start to warm, we'll see temperatures start off chilly on Sunday, but look at that. We climb above freezing into the 40s by Sunday late morning and could push 50 in some spots by Sunday afternoon. That'll be nice. So with the system exiting to the east, here's the upper level part of it that moves on over New Jersey this afternoon. That clears out by tomorrow morning, and it will bring back another round of clear sky throughout our Friday. It's still cold. We don't quite break the cold until we get to this weekend. With a few showers off to our north, snow flurries, that's a weak system that stays there, but it will bring back a few clouds, I think, as soon as Sunday afternoon, and that lingers into Monday morning. The 7-day forecast shows that milder trend with highs that'll go up into the 40s on Sunday, 46 on Monday, and yes, we make it to the 50s by Tuesday and Wednesday. Dry weather all throughout, really no chances of any significant rainfall beyond that sprinkle, and of course, the flurries in northern New Jersey this afternoon. By Saturday and Sunday, I think the temperatures will moderate in South Jersey as well, make it up to 51 by Tuesday. A few extra clouds there, but middle of the week, sunshine is back, and we hold that 50-degree temperature one more day on Wednesday. We're feeling pleasant as we head into next week. So wrapping up February on a milder note. Hopefully we can keep this trend going, Ken, into March with those temperatures above average for a change.
You overachiever. That's awesome. Thank you so
No, it's
much,
the
sir. We'll
7-day. I
check
just,
back with you. Ha! You know what? Maybe you'll surprise us into an 8-day. So there.
maybe.
All right. Mike, thank you very much, sir. We'll check back with you in a little bit. It is now 8:34 and a chilly 21 degrees. And we do want to mention traffic before we go to our guest here. We have a crash on I-295 southbound north of exit 28, which is Route 168 Black Horse Pike in Belmore. Left lane and shoulder are closed. Use caution. Garden State Parkway has a crash southbound south of exit 83, which is Route 9 north in Toms River Township, one right lane blocked. And we have a crash on US 1 southbound south of 287 in Edison Township, a lane closed. And of course, we still have that ongoing problem on Route 84, which is eastbound at exit 34 in Wharton. That is because of that ongoing sinkhole situation. It's going to take weeks before that's fixed. 8:35 is our time. Best Friends Animal Society is launching its nationwide Bring No Kill Home Summits. That's a series of events aimed at ending the killing of cats and dogs in U.S. shelters. With one summit set for Cherry Hill on March 1st, the organization is rallying communities to drive change for homeless pets. We're joined by Mark Peralta, Chief Program Officer at Best Friends Animal Society. Good morning to you, Mark. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely, Ken. Thanks for giving me some time.
You bet. I'm a big doggy fan. I've always had doggies until recently, but that's a whole other story. But I love animals. And let's start with the Bring No Kill Home Summit in Cherry Hill happening on March 1st. It's one of 5 locations that you guys have for Best Friends that was picked for 2025. What makes Cherry Hill and the residents there the prime spot for the event? And what can people expect when they go?
That's one of the great things about the state of New Jersey in general. So there's amazing residents, obviously, in the state, but you also have access to places like in Cherry Hill with the Philadelphia area as well as the main line. And what we're trying to do is access people just like you can. So it doesn't matter if, there's so many Americans that love animals. And if something that motivates you is to stop the killing of healthy cats and dogs in shelters, we want to help people get more involved in animal welfare because how we kind of fix this problem, which is a fixable issue, is through people like you and just giving you a little of assistance, getting you involved into the movement. Or if you're an expert and work at a shelter, it's just a way to network and get some other tools. So we're just trying to motivate and supply people with tools so we can get you activated and help not just in New Jersey, but in surrounding states and areas, making sure that cats and dogs are safe if they enter our shelters.
I'm with you so much, Mark. I don't want to bring it down. We had to put down our dog a year ago
I'm
because of
sorry.
cancer. And thank you.
Yeah,
And we're still devastated as for us, it's like a child, right? And for good reason. They're
absolutely.
just so innocent. And when we had to put him down and we held him, all I thought was the animals that are perfectly healthy, like you mentioned, who for no
Yep.
reason except for space are being put down. And what it's just like just a waste of life. And God gives us this gift of life. And to just kill this animal for no fault. I mean, it wasn't their fault they were born, and they just happened to be rounded up in a community where 200 years ago they would have been allowed to just wander, and then they're killed. It's gut wrenching, and it's so nice to see an organization like you folks trying to make this end. So the Cherry Hill Summit, I know, highlights legislation impacting New Jersey's cat community too in 2025. Tell us more about this bill, what it aims to do, and why you think it is critical for saving the lives of so many pets.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally in animal shelters, cats are actually the ones that are most at risk. It's starting to balance
Mm,
out a little bit more in more recent times. And in the state of New Jersey, what we're trying to do is there are community cats that live amongst us. And many of you who live in communities probably know these cats, and they're born outside. They live their entire lives outside. They're not really, the cats that are going to cuddle up with you and watch the Masked Singer on your lap, but they are animals that deserve to live. They're in our communities. So what we try to do is pass a bill where we make it not an abandonment issue for those cats to be able to be vaccinated, altered, so they're not able to reproduce. And that is more of a humane way of controlling those populations because we've been catching and rallying up these cats for over a century, and they're still there. So it seems intuitive that that's the way that you cure this problem, but it's one, a bad use of taxpayer money. It's inhumane, and it actually doesn't work. So we're really trying to work through legislation to make a different and more humane way of handling the issue of cats on our streets in New Jersey.
right, it's like whack-a-mole, right? And I don't mean to
Yeah,
sound insensitive when I say it, but it's like, okay, they keep popping out, if you will. So rather than killing them as they're born, why don't we do something to prevent them from reproducing so many other
that's
cats,
right.
which is great. And I love cats are sweet too. I'm just allergic. Otherwise, I would probably have 20 cats roaming this house right now. I'm serious. I love. How could you not love an animal? I think it says a lot about. Here's my hypothesis. It says a lot about a person who doesn't like animals because animals do nothing but show you love, and the more
That's
love
right.
you put on an animal, the more love you get back. It's just such a rewarding thing. And best friends, I know you're on a mission to make the US a no-kill nation by the end of this year.
That's
That is
right.
a very noble cause. I hope that is the case. It would be awesome to see. And you've been chasing this goal since 1984. Now you've brought shelter deaths down from
Right.
let people hear this number. It was 17 million and it's down to
In the 80s. Yep.
415,000. That's a crazy amount of lives you've saved. So what's been the key to the progress and why could 2025 be that tipping point time?
Beyond the work, really, the work's happened in the shelters and in so many different groups and organizations and community members across the country. What Best Friends does really well is kind of unite those stories and bring people out of isolation to make this more of a movement in a community. So it's been an amazing journey, and we've made a lot of progress, as you said, Ken, in the last 40 years. Um, but 400,000 is still too many, and there just doesn't need to happen. If we can just um, increase, only about less than 30% of the people that get animals from shelters or rescues. So, one, it's making it easier for you to get an animal through us because we need your help. And two, just seeing if we can increase that access point by 6%, we would kind of solve this issue. So what we're trying to do is figure out ways that makes shelters a little bit more pleasant to go into, make sure that you feel comfortable and it's not so sad because you're saving a life. But there are amazing animals. They're not broken, most of them. I mean, life happens, people get divorced, things happen that are not the animal's fault. And the thing is a lot of animals, when they, go into shelters, no matter how nice the staff are or how nice the building is, it's a really stressful place, and stress is just like us the biggest factor that makes animals sick and often puts their lives at risk in our shelters. So it's been amazing progress, but we just need to push over the finish line. And there's amazing opportunity with this bill in New Jersey, but also just with more community members being aware and not attacking your shelters, but actually going and getting involved and getting their help because we need to change a bit of this orphanage, antiquated kind of system that we have for animals and get in
Yeah.
there and make sure that it's a true safety net.
100%. And by the way, people, first of all, don't set out by thinking, I have to have this breed of animal. All right.
Right.
You'll find, first of all, breeds were the breeds of animals were because, of circumstances and then humans. They're still animals. I mean, God didn't necessarily intend it, I don't think,
Absolutely.
to have this breed and this breed and this breed. It just turned out that way. Look at that face on the screen. Oh, that face. I want to kiss it. Um, I would be literally immersed in dogs and cats if I could right now. But the thing is, we like, for instance, my family, we went into a rescue. We ended up getting a thoroughbred puppy Pomeranian. I mean,
Yeah.
you never know what you're going to find in a rescue or in a shelter. So you'll be
Yep.
surprised. And we didn't even go in to find that, but that's what we got. And
Yep.
she was the best dog ever, the sweetest dog. So go into a
Yep.
shelter. You may go in with one dog in mind, and you're going to come out with one who's just going to be the love of your life, or cat for that matter. Too. Cats are awesome, and they're better if you're busy. So let's
Yep,
just hope that people go out there. And I know that the data is showing that pet adoptions have been trending up nationally for the first time since before the pandemic in 2020, a big factor to reach
that's
no-kill
right.
status. So how does this help you at the summits? And what message do you have if people are thinking about adopting a pet?
I would say this, just please scope out. You can use websites like Pet Finder, local shelter websites. Pet Finder kind of ties a lot of shelters and rescue groups. It's petfinder.com is good. You have adoptapet.com as well. These are two really good ways you can see local private rescues or shelters, animals that are up for adoption. And we just ask you if we could get 6% more to choose adoption over going to a puppy store. That would be amazing. A lot of times, these are animals, as you said, you can find small animals. A lion's share of cats and dogs that are in shelters are young, under 2 years
Mhm.
old. So you can get a young animal. If you're like me and like to have the ones that are a little bit better for an active lifestyle, I'll get the ones that are about 6, 7, 8 years old or over. You can find them too. You have amazing people that work in these places in the animal shelters that are relying on you for your help, and they're such great resources for you and for the entirety of the life of your animal. You're going to get them spayed and neutered already, so you don't have to incur
Mhm.
that cost. You'll get a microchip, you'll get vaccines. So that's the stuff that comes with an adoption that you're not going to get when you buy an animal. And you're also saving a life and helping us solve a centuries old issue with us not getting our best friends out of our shelters alive. And it's time and place for this to stop.
Yeah, and I mean two little points there that I want to just reinforce of what you said. Number one is that yes, there's something to be said for someone, I say someone, a dog who is over puppyhood, beyond puppyhood, because there's
Yep,
whining and crying just like any baby. They cry for weeks
that's right.
sometimes. They
That's
teethe as
right.
well, and they cause damage when they teethe. You got to be careful if you're not
Yep,
experienced. You could destroy your $10,000 bedroom furniture set, Kobe, like happened to me.
that's right.
And I literally came home one day, and every corner of every piece of furniture in the bedroom was just chewed, and he was just wagging his tail. But that's my fault. That's on me. He doesn't know. He thought he was doing something nice. And
Absolutely.
then the housebreaking is taken care of already. So a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, perfectly healthy dog is great. They already have, in most cases, a good personality developed. But if you insist on the
That's right.
puppies, just beware. It's like getting a baby. It is a
Yep.
baby. So you just have to
Yep.
beware of that. So, and just last before we go, Mark, give everybody a website and how they can contact you and the information on the Cherry Hill event.
So our website is bestfriends.org, and you can navigate anything. The Cherry Hill event's at the DoubleTree in Cherry Hill. It's $25, and the thing with that is you become a member of Best Friends, so you get a lot of active communication. You get access to the Best Friends magazine that tells you stories and things that are going on. But most importantly, if you've been thinking about, like, I love animals, I just don't know how to get involved somewhere, this is it right here. So come and see us. It's a full day. There's going to be some founders from Best Friends that go back all the way to the 80s, to myself. I can't wait to get back to the South New Jersey area. I lived in Lambertville for a time, and I absolutely
Oh,
love New
nice.
Jersey. So it's going to be great to come back. Um, and you're just going to get motivated. You're going to get tools. If you're an expert already and work in a shelter, come as well, because there's going to be things for you. But we just really want to continue to build this community of already great animal lovers in the great state of New Jersey. So come on, bestfriends.org. If you want to know where the summit is, probably the easiest thing is just to Google Best Friends Bring No Kill Home Summits. There is a URL, but it's very long. It'll pop up right away, and we can get you there. So I hope to see you March 1st, Cherry Hill Doubletree.
Right. So we got to definitely check that out. It's going to be huge. We want you back, Mark. Don't be a stranger. In fact, next time you come on, bring a couple of your little friends so we can put them on camera. I don't care if they're barking and meowing and
Happy
crawling
to.
all over you. We want to see them. All right. Thank you so much, and I hope everything goes great in Cherry Hill and at all of your events. And let's hope that a year from now or less, you can come back on and say we are a no-kill nation. It'd be great to be there.
That'd
All
be
right.
fantastic. Thank
Thank
you,
you so
Ken.
much. You bet. Mark Peralta, Chief Program Officer, Best Friends Animal Society. Thank you for joining us. It is now 8:47, 21 degrees. When we come back, some snow showers could hit parts of New Jersey today. Meteorologist Mike Favetta will be back with the details, and we'll take your calls. Maybe squeeze in one call at 888-658-0234 when On New Jersey Mornings continues. welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 8:49. We'll take a call now at 888-658-0234. In the meantime, straight to meteorologist Mike Pavetta with the Garden State Forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning to you, Ken. Warming up today only to the upper 20s, so it'll stay chilly. And like you mentioned, a few flakes and flurries passing through New Jersey this afternoon as highs only make it to 24 in West Milford. Chilly there in western Passaic County. Sussex County, 27 with the snow flurries coming down. Better chance to see more breaks of sun this afternoon as it's sunny right now statewide. But again, the clouds come in by the end of the day with those flurries mid-afternoon. We actually saw a little bit of an improvement to the drought, just like we've been talking about the impressive amount of rain that's fallen across the central New Jersey. Well, now the extreme drought is just for, say, LBI and south. It's kind of Tuckerton area working through exit 70 on the Parkway and south. Portions of Middlesex and Northern Ocean County are now just in a moderate to severe drought. So again, the extreme drought has improved, and I think we'll see this continue over the next several days as the rainfall amounts were really heavy with the wet weather over the weekend. That now reflected in the rainfall deficit and drought monitor. So better news as we head into the end of winter and early spring. Better chances of colder weather, I should say, going into the Northeast for the end of February into early March. And as far as precipitation, maybe slightly higher than average, but not by much. So I still think we stay generally dry statewide through the first few days of March. The 7-day forecast has plenty of sunshine this weekend. Milder weather, you bet, especially as we head into Sunday with a high of 44 and Monday 46. But we actually make it to 50 as soon as Tuesday and keep it in the 50s through Wednesday. South Jersey may actually squeeze out one more degree by Monday and Tuesday of next week. 46 on Monday, 51 rather on Tuesday. A few extra clouds there. But overall, Ken, a very pleasant way to wrap up February and look forward to the milder days of March.
We will take it, sir. Have a wonderful day. Thanks so much.
You too.
It is now, thank you, 21 degrees at 8:51. Checking traffic. We have a crash on US 109 northbound north of Elizabeth Avenue in Elizabeth. The left lane is closed. And a crash on US 1 southbound south of 287 Edison Township, one left lane closed. And that emergency construction still I-80 eastbound at exit 34 in Wharton. All lanes are closed and detoured, and that'll be the case for the next few weeks. 8:52, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy made good on President Trump's promise to end New York's congestion pricing toll, pulling federal approval yesterday. Duffy said the $9 fee to enter Manhattan below 60th Street is, quote, a slap in the face to working class Americans and business people. Duffy notified Governor Hochul of his decision, saying, quote, commuters using the highway system to enter New York City have already financed the construction and improvement of these highways through the payment of gas taxes and other taxes. But now the toll program leaves drivers without any free highway alternative and instead takes more money from working people to pay for a transit system and not highways. It's backwards and unfair. Congestion pricing was intended to raise $1 billion in annual revenue for MTA capital programs while simultaneously reducing gridlock, air pollution, and crashes. Officials never did, though, explain how you can both lower the number of cars coming into the congestion zone, yet somehow raise all that money they need to cover the gross mismanagement of the MTA. New Jersey drivers, though, will not see an immediate break because the MTA is suing to keep congestion pricing in place. They get a hearing on the matter next Wednesday, so from now till at least then, congestion pricing is still in effect. Well, at 8:53, stop what you're doing and check this out. A terrifying scene in North Sacramento, California, as a car came crashing off a city street and onto Interstate 5 on Monday. Look in the middle of your screen right there. My goodness. Wow, what a mess. Exactly what led up to the car crashing is unclear, or that tree. We don't know what that tree came from, if that was being carried by a vehicle. But the vehicle ended up completely flipped over onto its roof. Police say the driver did survive and was taken to the hospital in critical but stable condition. Quite the scare, though. It is 8:54, and President Trump says he's considering sending 20% of the money saved by Doge to Americans. His remarks came after Elon Musk said in a post on X Tuesday that he would check with the president on a proposal to send U.S. households tax refund checks funded by savings created by Doge's cost-cutting campaign. Musk has said that his goal is to cut federal spending $2 trillion out of the $6.75 trillion annual budget in the latest fiscal year ended last September 30th. If the goal is met, $400 billion of that could be distributed to taxpayers, amounting to an average of $5 $1,000 for every household. So you see what happens? You cut transgender opera in Peru and you get $5,000 in your pocket instead of sending it overseas for something. 854, a federal judge yesterday questioned a top Justice Department official who is seeking to dismiss corruption charges against Mayor Eric Adams, a move that has led to the resignations of 8 prosecutors. U.S. District Judge Dale Ho did not make his decision at the 90-minute hearing, though, after he instructed both parties to be prepared to discuss why the case should or should not be dismissed. During the hearing, Ho pressed Adams' lawyer about the then interim U.S. Attorney Danielle Sassoon's suggestion that the dismissal attempt was nothing more than a quid pro quo deal with the Trump White House. Spiro, who is the attorney, assured the judge there was no quid pro quo. 855, for years we heard people insisting the COVID shot had serious side effects. They were called flat earthers by the people on the left. Many resisted getting the shot, even to the point of losing their jobs or not being able to send their kids to school. Now, a study from Yale University suggests all those COVID shot resistors may have been correct all along. Experts from Yale University have discovered an alarming syndrome linked to the mRNA COVID vaccines, dubbed post-vaccination syndrome. Let me stop and ask, where were all these researchers 4 and 5 years ago? Were they so terrified to speak out because of the Biden administration coming down on them and the people in the medical community coming down on them? This syndrome appears to cause brain fog, dizziness, ringing in the ears, tinnitus that's called, or exercise intolerance as well. Some sufferers also show differences in their immune cells and the presence of coronavirus proteins in their blood, even years after they got the shot. Even more alarming, the condition appears to reawaken a dormant virus in the body known as Epstein-Barr, which can cause flu-like symptoms, swollen lymph nodes, and nerve issues. The study is still ongoing, and researchers are now trying to figure out how widespread this is and who is most at risk. But at least we now know that all those people who were reticent to get a shot may have had something. It is 8:56, and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered senior leaders throughout the U.S. military to develop plans to cut 8% from the defense budget in each of the next 5 years. Hegseth ordered the proposed cuts to be drawn up by February 24th, which includes a list of 17 categories that the Trump administration wants exempted. Among those categories, operations at the southern border, modernization of nuclear weapons and missile defense, and the purchase of one-way attack drones and other munitions. The Pentagon budget for 2025 is $850 billion. And from the You Can't Make This Stuff Up file, get this. This is a headline from Newsweek. There are concerns the Ukrainian president could be voted out of office if the country holds an election. Newsweek, I guess, doesn't understand what democracy is. It is 21 degrees at 8:57, and meteorologist Mike Babetta says a snow shower this afternoon. Bundle up, and that is ONNJ Jersey Mornings for your Thursday. Is today Thursday? It's Thursday, right? It is. God, took me all morning. I'm Ken Rosato. Remember, you can stream us on OnNewJersey.com, Roku, Fire TV, News on Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X, and now we stream on Rumble and Twitch. Go to twitch.tv/OnNewJersey. Have a great morning.